Some say that Dirk Nowitzki is one of the most unathletic NBA stars ever, and while he was no doubt less athletic than most of his peers, that didn't stop him from destroying them all and gaining all of their respect.
Hardest player in the NBA you defended?
Hardest player?
Hardest player.
Oh, Dirk Nowitzki.
Oh, beautiful move by Nowitzki. Textbook Dirk.
Dirk was like that hybrid four that, was just impossible to deal with.
He's a legend. He's an icon. I think he's the greatest international player ever. That boy was cold, man. Dirk was cold.
Well, what a clutch shot from one of the best shot makers in the history of the game.
He really solidified himself as one of the best players in the league, somebody I respect to the highest power.
But Dirk did not always have this respect, as there was a point in his career where he was one of the most disrespected players in the sport. He had to go on a long, difficult journey to earn his reputation as one of the greatest NBA players ever, a journey that began in the NBA Finals of 2006.
Shot clock winding down, falling away, puts it in, Dirk Nowitzki, and they lead the NBA Finals 2-0.
After holding Shaquille O'Neal to the worst playoff performance of his NBA career, the Dallas Mavericks and Dirk Nowitzki were 2 wins away from being named NBA champions. With both of their wins so far in the series being by double digits, Dallas was overwhelmingly expected to capture their first NBA title. After the Game 2 win, the championship parade route was put in the Dallas paper. The city was bracing themselves for a huge celebration. And midway through the fourth quarter of Game 3, the Dallas Mavericks were on the verge of going up 3-0 with a double-digit lead in the game. No team in the league's history had ever recovered from a 3-0 series lead. These final 5 minutes would all but seal a championship for the Mavericks, but this wouldn't go according to plan.
Williams on the drive, back out. That's a three. Wade pulls up, puts it in. Wade on the drive, inside, banks it in. Wade, it's good. Jason Williams kicks it out. Payton shot, it's good.
The Dallas Mavericks had collapsed here in the fourth quarter, but Dirk Nowitzki, a 90% free throw shooter, would have a chance to send this game to overtime with 2 free throws.
This is the free throw.
A massive missed opportunity for the Dallas Mavericks, but with the way the series had played out so far, they still had confidence that 2 more wins would be achieved. But that confidence would quickly be ripped away from them in Game 4. The Miami Heat winning a blowout to even up the series, Dirk having a miserable game shooting 2 for 4 from the field. But Dallas bounced back in Game 5, up by 2 points with just 10 seconds left in the game.
Wade looking, pulls up, banks it in, tie game.
Dallas was so close to making this a 3-2 series in their favor here in Game 5, but Dwayne Wade wasn't going to make things easy. Dirk had to come up big for his team in the clutch of this overtime. But D-Wade continued to be a problem for Dallas, drawing a foul on the last possession and hitting 2 free throws to win the game. This was supposed to be Dallas's moment, and now they found themselves trailing the series 3-2. Game 6 in Dallas would be another close fight for the entire fourth quarter, but Jason Terry was unable to hit the shot to tie the game in the final seconds.
The Miami Heat, they've done it. They win their first championship in franchise history.
Dallas was once 5 minutes away from a 3-0 lead in this series, and they had just blown their biggest shot at an NBA championship.
And to be up 2-0 and have everything going our way and not come up with the goal, and then it's basically ripping your heart out.
This was a devastating loss for Dirk Nowitzki and the Dallas Mavericks, but at age 27, Dirk was just entering his prime. It was his mission to get back to this stage and this time win the most important trophy in basketball for his team. He kicked off the 06-07 NBA season on another level, as throughout this year, Dirk Nowitzki was completely unstoppable, averaging 24 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists per game on 50-40-90 shooting splits, joining an exclusive list in that 50-40-90 club that included just 3 other players in the history of the league, Dirk being the only 7-footer in that club. But most importantly, he led the Dallas Mavericks to their best record in franchise history, 67-15. They were the best team in the NBA, and Dirk Nowitzki was at the forefront. The Mavericks were storming their way back to the NBA playoffs as the first seed and championship hopefuls once again. They were denied in 2006, they couldn't be denied again. And Dirk has something to prove in this postseason, as Dwayne Wade had recently come out and said, Dirk said they gave us the championship last year, but he was the reason they lost the championship, because he wasn't the leader he was supposed to be in the closing moments. A championship here for Dirk Nowitzki in these 2007 playoffs silences this doubt. And the other day I had doubt in myself after I thought about how much money I've wasted on takeout this year.
Damn.
Because instead of all that junk, I could have been spending money on a better alternative that helps me meet my nutritional goals, like today's sponsor, Factor, and they can help you reach your goals as well. Factor delivers fresh, never frozen, dietitian approved meals right to your doorstep with a variety of options to choose from. If you want to lose weight and you're being very mindful of your caloric intake, Factor has Calorie Smart. And if you're like me and you're trying to put on some muscle, they have Protein Plus, along with other options like keto and vegan and veggie. You can choose what meals you want from a weekly menu of 35 different options and more than 60 other add-on options as well. Factor even has some gourmet meal options to feature premium ingredients like a filet mignon. I'm not gonna lie, I need that. But look, if you're trying to reach your fitness goals this year, you gotta know that it all starts with your nutrition. So head over to factor75.com or click the link down below and use code 50WillSoTrill to get 50% off and free shipping on your first Factor box. That's right, man, 50WillSoTrill at factor75.com for 50% off and free shipping on your first Factor box. Now let's get back to Dirk. The Mavericks' first round opponent would be the Golden State Warriors, a team making the playoffs for the first time since 1994, a team that many were surprised even got to the postseason. Back in March, this team was the 12th seed in the Western Conference with a 26-35 record, but after capping off the season with 16 wins in 21 games, they had made an unbelievable run to the playoffs. And for this, they were awarded with a first round matchup here against the NBA's best team, Dallas Mavericks, who had the MVP hopeful Dirk Nowitzki, while the Golden State Warriors had belief that only grew larger after an upset Game 1 victory in Dallas.
Davis hitting the jumper, and all of this becomes a dagger.
The Mavericks got booed off their home floor in Game 1 after a miserable performance from Dirk, who shot 2 for 14, but he did bounce back in Game 2 with 23 points and a win with the goal of killing off some of the Warriors' hope of an upset. But inside Oracle Arena with the home crowd behind them, it only got realer for the Warriors.
The extra pass, Richardson hits it through. Back with Eric Dampier, who's done nothing in the entire series. They're just pouring it on right now. You were bigger. Richardson up, foul. A wonderful performance by the home team. Richardson.
The Golden State Warriors defended their home court in a blowout win over Dallas. People could say that the first win was a fluke, but this one meant something, especially considering they followed it up with another win in Game 4, a 3-1 lead in the series as the 8th seed, a win away from becoming the first team in NBA history to beat the first seed in the playoffs as the 8th seed in a 7-game series. The Mavs came into these playoffs looking for their first NBA championship, and now they were looking up at a mountain to climb in the first round of the playoffs. And Dirk had a strong performance in Game 5 to get the Mavericks closer up that mountain to overcome this deficit. 30 points and a close win, but in Game 6 they would have to win at Oracle Arena. They would need Dirk more now than ever, and this is when he disappeared. With an abysmal 2 of 13 shooting performance, scoring just 8 points, Dirk watched his Mavericks get blown out by the Golden State Warriors. They were on the wrong side of NBA history in one of the most embarrassing losses ever.
I think it was the most disappointing loss of my career, of my life.
Following this loss, Dirk Nowitzki is feeling the worst he'd ever felt in his life, while all of the media tears him apart for his rough series against the Warriors. He now just wants to get away from the game of basketball. He wants to leave the country, and he plans on doing exactly that with his mentor, Holger Geschwindner, who Dirk had known since he was 16 years old, and he had played such an important role in his development up to this point. If Dirk was going to be able to recover from this devastating loss, he would need the guidance of Holger. Dirk called the Mavericks front office shortly after the playoff elimination to tell them that he was leaving the country, but it didn't take long for Dirk to get a call back from the NBA.
You cannot leave yet, or not quite yet. There is a chance you might get the MVP, and I remember saying, I'd just give it to somebody else. All I wanted to do really was be gone.
Dirk Nowitzki didn't even want to accept the MVP award after all that happened, but he had to stay in the United States for the time being, where he would reluctantly accept his trophy. This was never the trophy that Dirk was after. Following his MVP acceptance, he was out. He was off to travel across the world with Holger as they tried to recover from this stain on Dirk's career and reputation. They had been through so much together already, having overcome so many doubts in Dirk's early career, even doubts of his own.
It was a big jump for the NBA to the best league. I didn't know if I could make it or not.
As a tall kid, Dirk Nowitzki started playing basketball at age 13, but years later at age 16, Dirk would meet someone that would change his life. As a man with a lot of basketball experience noticed him playing in a youth basketball game.
And there was a tall, skinny dude, running around, and now he was doing all the things a good basketball player has to be able to do. And when he passed by to the locker room, I said, and who's teaching you the basics, the tools, the skills? Nobody.
Holger Geschwindner, who had played with the German national team all the way back in 1972, naturally offered to teach Dirk the tools.
He came to my family, we had a meeting, and he was like, our goal is to be the best player even in the NBA. And
I was like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to play in this league.
But despite Dirk's hesitance, he decided to work with Holger every day, which proved to be a life-altering decision. Holger had a unique philosophy in training Dirk, many things unconventional and simply seen as crazy. He focused on Dirk's outside game being developed despite most bigs focusing on their inside game. And he even calculated angles to find the perfect jump shot arc for Dirk to apply. Nobody had ever thought of doing something like this, but Holger's unique training would ultimately make Dirk a unique player.
I mean, he taught me everything, how to shoot, how to move, how to dribble, how to play the game. He always said, listen, you might be tall, but you're not the most athletic, you're not built strong. He's like, if you want to go to the NBA, you got to bring something new to the game.
We do not go in the game usually from baseline to baseline. That means it's a floor to dance on, and I believe, in the future people has to be danced.
And after just a year of working with Holger, Dirk showed all of America that he was here to bring something new to the game, showcasing his unusual but remarkable game against the best high school basketball players from the United States in the Nike Hoop Summit.
You asked him yesterday why he's here. He said, this is where my future is. He wants to impress all the NBA scouts who are watching this game today.
And with a 33-point, 13-rebound outing, those scouts were impressed. Holger watching courtside as Dirk may have just booked his ticket to the NBA.
We're going to see you back here in the NBA, maybe another Detlef Shrimp someday?
Oh, I hope so, I don't know yet.
Months ago, Dirk Nowitzki's NBA dream seemed distant, but now it was happening as one NBA team had immense interest in him.
With the 9th pick in the 1998 NBA draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Dirk Nowitzki.
But this wasn't the team, because the Milwaukee Bucks were sending the draft rights to Dirk Nowitzki over to the Dallas Mavericks, the team that really wanted him. But their urgency to get Dirk in the draft was not looking like it was paying off early on, as through his rookie season, he struggled immensely. He was too unathletic, getting blown by routinely on the perimeter, and his lack of strength was getting abused. It seemed like he wasn't built for this league, and Dirk himself even began to believe that.
It was really hard for me. I was the man in Germany. I played 40 minutes a game, and now all of a sudden come in a situation where I felt like, every player on my own team was better than myself.
But as Dirk's self-doubt was taking over, he reached out to the person who was always there for him in Holger.
He tried to help me as much as he can, so he was kind of like everything to me. He was my agent, my coach, my friend, like my second father. He just took care of me.
Dirk's rookie season was rough, but persistence and improvement was necessary to solidify a place in this league, and with those two things, he eventually did establish himself in this league, becoming an all-star by his 4th season in 2002. Now, 5 years later, Dirk was in another position of needing to practice persistence and improvement to get through a tough time in his NBA career. After an offseason of traveling the world with Holger, Dirk Nowitzki was ready to get back to change the narratives. The narrative that he was a playoff choker, the narrative that the 2006 run was a fluke, and the narrative that he was never an MVP caliber player. His legacy was in question, and he wanted to respond. The 07-08 season wasn't exactly up to the Mavericks standard though, winning 51 games to secure the 7th seed in the West and a first-round matchup with Chris Paul's Hornets, who were the 2 seed. Dirk himself played well in the series, but the Mavericks couldn't keep up with New Orleans, losing the series in 5 games, back-to-back first-round exits for Dallas. This road back was not going to be easy. As the 08-09 regular season played out about the same, the Mavericks winning 50 games, this time getting the 6th seed for the playoffs in a matchup with the in-state rivals San Antonio Spurs. They made a statement in the series by taking the Spurs down in 5 games, but then lost in the second round to the Nuggets in 5. And their playoff disappointments only continued into the next season, losing in the first round to the San Antonio Spurs in 6. The Mavericks were now the team that were pretty good, but they could always be counted on to blow it in the playoffs. Dirk and the Mavericks had become an afterthought. And Dirk Nowitzki found himself on the infamous list that no NBA player wanted to be on, the all-time great NBA players who could never win an NBA title. He had his chance in 2006, but that chance was blown. The 2010 offseason was expected to be a big one that would really shake up the NBA, because free agency included some big names like LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Amari Stoudemire, Chris Bosh, Joe Johnson, and Dirk Nowitzki. Many believe that if Dirk wanted to win a championship, he would need to go join a big team with some other big names, but as the dominoes fell and major signings were made, Dirk Nowitzki decided to stay put in Dallas, even though he has some interest from a great player and a great situation.
He was up for free agency, and I knew what his response was going to be, but just out of respect, I said, dude, everybody's looking around at all these free agents. I felt I'd just shoot you a text. If you want to come to LA, and he goes, dude, I would love to play with you, but Dallas is my home, this is my team, I'm not leaving here.
Entering the 2010-2011 NBA season, the Dallas Mavericks only continue to be the NBA's biggest afterthought. When discussing the championship contenders, they were hardly a team brought up in that discussion. In the West, the Lakers were fresh off back-to-back NBA titles, and they still had their same championship core that won those titles. Many around the league had also begun to take notice of the Oklahoma City Thunder, led by a young duo of Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. They were seen as far more exciting than anything Dallas had to offer. In the East, there was the usual Boston Celtics, who were always a force in the Eastern Conference with their star power, but the real heavy hitter was the championship favorite Miami Heat, who has signed both LeBron James and Chris Bosh, teaming up these stars with another in Dwayne Wade. A roster with this much star power had never been seen before. These four aforementioned teams, along with the Orlando Magic and Chicago Bulls, made up the 6 favorites to win the NBA title, with the Dallas Mavericks having the 7th highest odds. Nobody believed in this Mavericks team except themselves.
Look, everybody said, man, I believe we can win. I don't know about y'all. We got the team to do it. Look at the pieces. Sean Marion, Deshaun Stevenson, Tyson Chandler. We got guys that's all-stars, starters. It don't matter. We got it. We have what it takes right now in this room to win a championship. I'm going to get a tattoo of the trophy right now. I showed Coach. I'm serious, baby. We're going to win it all this year. Right here. I got a tattoo to prove.
People thought Jason Terry was crazy, but the Mavericks had a right to believe in themselves. They truly did have a strong team. Maybe not the star power of the other championship favorites, but they could give some teams some real problems. Over the course of the regular season, they had some statement wins. They played the Boston Celtics twice and won both games. They beat the Thunder twice in 3 games, and they took down the Miami Heat in both of the games that they played against them. The Mavericks finished the season with a 57-25 record, their best record since the dreaded 06-07 season. But this team had a different edge to them. While everyone was so invested in what the Miami Heat did over the offseason, the Mavericks trade to bring in Tyson Chandler went unnoticed. But he was making a huge difference next to Dirk.
Tyson Chandler instantly brought a toughness, a nastiness about the way he went about his business every day.
I think Tyson really changed the culture around here.
Tyson Chandler made the Mavericks defense legit, and with Dirk still playing like the superstar he was while being surrounded with lethal shooters, the writing was on the wall that this Mavericks team could be in for a big playoff run, even without Caron Butler, who the Mavs lost during the regular season with an injury. But still, the masses were blinded by what they had become accustomed to with the Dallas Mavericks. They'll look promising, but once it's playoff time, they'll find a way to blow it again. By the way, if you're watching this, it's a 97% chance that you're not subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and never miss out on any great videos like this. Let's get to that 100K, y'all. And I also post sneak peeks and trailers of upcoming videos on both Twitter and Instagram, so if you want an early look at the next videos, make sure y'all follow me over there.
Well, it's the most eagerly anticipated time of the year in the NBA. The playoffs get started tonight. The Mavs come in as the 3rd seed. Portland is the 6th seed. You get the feeling that the pressure is on Dallas because of past first-round failures.
ESPN's Expert Picks has 6 of their 12 analysts picking the Portland Trail Blazers to eliminate the Mavericks here in the first round, a squad led by LaMarcus Aldridge and Gerald Wallace. But the Mavericks actually got things started well at home in Game 1, winning this one behind 28 points from Dirk, and they defended home court again in Game 2 with 33 points from Dirk. This wasn't looking like the same old Mavericks. Even after a Game 3 loss in Portland, they were still firing on all cylinders in Game 4, taking a massive 23-point lead with a minute to go in the 3rd.
From the corner, Stojakovic. Peja drills the 3.
13 minutes away from a 3-1 lead to silence the doubt. But it seemed like somehow, some way, the same old Mavericks found a way to show themselves.
We're up 20, thinking we're going to cruise on to a victory. They come back with a fierce run.
Brandon Roy went on a tear throughout this 4th quarter, scoring 18 points, more than every Maverick combined, plus 4 assists. It was a comeback for the ages, and the Mavs had choked here in the postseason yet again. They just let the 6th seed Blazers back into the series in a crushing defeat. Back on their home court for Game 5, the Mavericks couldn't let down their fans for another year, and they knew that, securing a strong win over the Blazers for a 3-2 series advantage. Now the challenge was winning on the road in Portland to close this one out, and they delivered. A 33-point performance from Dirk Nowitzki to get to the 2nd round of the playoffs. They overcame the Game 4 blunders, but it was only going to get harder for the Mavericks from here, because their 2nd round matchup was the back-to-back defending champion Los Angeles Lakers, led by the best player in the world, Kobe Bryant. And the Lakers would be heavily favored in this series, with all 14 of ESPN's analysts picking the Lakers to win the series. This team was the favorite to go to the NBA Finals, and it was the team that Dirk had an offer to go to in the offseason just 10 months prior, an offer from Kobe himself. Now they would be in a fight for a spot in the Western Conference Finals. As expected, it was the Lakers sending an early friendly message, having a 16-point lead in the third quarter. But the Dallas Mavericks were resilient, steadily chipping away at that lead throughout, eventually taking the lead with 19 seconds to go, courtesy of Dirk Nowitzki. A lead that they were able to maintain over the final seconds with Kobe Bryant missing the potential game winner. A statement win for the Dallas Mavericks here in Los Angeles. But they weren't done, continuing to make a statement in Game 2, by this time beating the Lakers convincingly. They had now taken both games at Staples Center to kick off this series. The realization that this Mavericks team and this Dirk Nowitzki was different was beginning to set in. The Lakers certainly wouldn't go down without a fight though, as with their backs against the wall they led in the fourth quarter of Game 3, but once again this Mavericks team rallied, outscoring the Lakers by 12 points in the fourth quarter, where Dirk scored 9 of his 32 points, a commanding 3-0 series lead over the defending champions. Now the Lakers were demoralized, and in Game 4 they never stood a chance. Nobody had picked the Mavs to win this series, yet they had swept the Los Angeles Lakers.
How does this win help erase some memories of some disappointments in past playoffs?
Yeah, you know, we've been struggling a little bit. We went to the finals that one year. Since then, we had a couple of early exits, but I think this team is as deep and as good as any team I've been on here in the Mavericks, so we're trying to go for it.
The Mavericks' Western Conference Finals opponent would bring another formidable challenge in the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that was led by the scoring champion Kevin Durant and another star in Russell Westbrook. And the OKC Thunder played well in Game 1, but they couldn't match up with a performance for the ages from Dirk Nowitzki.
Here's Ibaka on Nowitzki, spins around him and throws it down. Nowitzki with a hand in his face. 6 for 6 from the field. Cephalosha doing his best. Oh, he banks it in. A little bit of everything from Dirk Nowitzki.
They had no matchup for him. You know, they tried throwing small guys at him. They tried throwing big guys at him. They tried in between, and they couldn't find a matchup for him.
Dirk put together an unbelievable performance, scoring 48 points and only missing 3 shot attempts to secure a win in Game 1. But the Young Thunder bounced back in Game 2. They responded with the win against Dallas to take the home court advantage in this series, which would immediately be taken back by the Mavericks in Game 3. Home court advantage for them again now in this series, 2 wins away from the NBA Finals. And over the next 2 games, Dirk averaged 33 a game, leading the Mavericks back to the NBA Finals. After so many years of hardships, they were finally back.
All I can say is there's 20-some thousand people in this building who believed in us when nobody else did. And all I can tell everybody is we ain't done yet. Now it's on, baby. NBA Finals, here we come.
After a long journey, for the first time in 5 years, the Dallas Mavericks were in the NBA Finals, and their opponents here also back in the finals for the first time in 5 years, the Miami Heat, a shot at revenge for Dirk. But of course, this team was so much different and so much more loaded than the one that they faced in 2006. The star himself, Dwayne Wade, was still there, but now he was paired up with LeBron James and Chris Bosh. After facing so many great players on their road to this NBA Finals series, the Mavericks now had to take down one of the greatest teams ever assembled if they wanted to win a championship. They had their work cut out for them, but the only 2 remaining players from the 2006 Mavericks team were as motivated as ever.
These are the same team. I don't care who's in uniform that sent us home, that had us in the locker room crying in 05-06, the tears, the sleepless nights, all those days added up. Now it was here before.
This was set to be a huge series, the Mavericks of course seeking revenge, but 2 all-time greats also looking to solidify their legacies. LeBron James chasing his first championship on one end, and Dirk Nowitzki chasing his first championship on the other.
Who needs to win a title more? They both need one. Is it LeBron James or Dirk Nowitzki who most needs this championship?
This is an absurd question.
It's not absurd, Skip.
It's Dirk times 10.
Oh, God.
Dirk just might not pass this way again. He's at the end of his 13th season. Dirk Nowitzki took 90% of the blame for that Maverick collapse at the hands of Dwayne Wade in the 2006 finals. This is his shot. He needs it desperately to validate his reputation that begins to grow as even a top 30 player. I mean, his coach said top 10 all time.
Dirk wanted this badly. He knew he let 2006 slip away, and after this 5-year journey back to the NBA Finals, he could not let it slip away again. he couldn't continue to have his name on that forbidden list of ringless NBA greats. Coming into this NBA Finals series, 15 of ESPN's 22 analysts picked the Miami Heat to win the finals, as expected, the overwhelming favorites. And in the second half of Game 1, they showed why that was the case, Miami being the team to make the plays down the stretch to win the first game of this series. And to make matters worse for Dallas entering Game 2, Dirk would be playing with a torn tendon in his finger, which luckily was on his non-shooting hand. But just like Game 1, the Mavericks were hanging with the Heat here until another late surge by the Miami Heat, this one even stronger than the last. Miami was up by 15 points with 6 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in the game. But after a timeout by Dallas, something clicked for this team. They were about to begin an unbelievable run.
Nowitzki back up to Kidd, wide open for three, knocks it down. Terry the drive, Terry the pull-up, it's good. Nowitzki hooks it up, puts it in, picked up by Terry, a minute remaining. Here goes Marion, back to Nowitzki, lefty layup, banks it in, and the game is tied. Terry to Nowitzki, puts up the three, puts it in. Dallas goes up by 3 with 26.7 remaining.
A lead for the Mavs now, but the Heat had a response.
Chalmers wide open. Oh! Chalmers knocks down the 3. 7 to shoot. Nowitzki drives with underneath lefty layup, banks it in. Dallas has tied the finals with one of the most incredible comebacks in NBA Finals history.
After a massive win in Game 2, Game 3 saw itself playing out the same. Miami had control but began to lose it late in the game, and this time it came down to one shot from Dirk Nowitzki to send this game into overtime, but he couldn't hit it. Miami with a 2-1 series lead. Game 4 was a must-win for the Dallas Mavericks. But before that game came some unfortunate news for the Dallas Mavericks. Dirk Nowitzki was sick with the flu.
Shoot, this might be the biggest game of my life, and I'm here sweating and shivering and frustrated.
But Dirk was going to fight through this as best as he could, although early on, things weren't looking good for him.
I know how much this guy's been through. You can't allow Dirk being sick to cause him his ring.
As Dirk struggled, his Mavericks teammates picked it up, but entering the fourth, they still found themselves down. But in that fourth quarter, Dirk turned it up 10 points in the fourth to bring the Mavericks back in the game and even give them the lead. It was another game coming down to the final shot, which the Miami Heat could not come up with. This series was tied behind Dirk's heroics here late in the game. And unbeknownst to Dirk, ahead of Game 5, his opponents would mock his sickness.
Oh, did y'all hear me cough? Think I'm sick. Hey, this weather, man.
These two were going to regret this. As Game 5 was controlled by Dallas for the majority of the game, with 29 points from Dirk, they had won this game to take a big-time 3-2 series lead, one win away from that NBA championship over one of the greatest rosters ever assembled. They were shocking the world, and Game 6 could be all they needed to shock the world one final time to claim the trophy. But Dirk Nowitzki had a horrible first half, scoring just 3 points, shooting 1 for 12 from the field. However, the Mavericks still happened to control this first half, entering halftime up by 2. If Dirk woke up in the second half, that NBA title could finally be his. With his legacy on the line and 24 minutes to go, Dirk Nowitzki scored 18 points in the second half, enough to lead the Mavericks to a 10-point victory.
The Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions, the first title in franchise history.
And as the buzzer sounded, the franchise player headed straight to the locker room with his hands on his head.
The emotions of Dirk Nowitzki, what he's always dreamed of, hoping to have another chance.
With no cameras or media around, Dirk took the chance to let out all of his emotions and tears in the locker room. And after letting it all out, he joined the team on the floor for the trophy presentation, where he finally got to lift the hardware that he always wanted. While his mentor Holger, who rarely ever showed much emotion, couldn't help but shed a tear while watching Dirk lift that trophy from the stands. Everything that they had been through was all worth it. They were solidified in NBA history as winners.
When you work for something so hard and so long, I think just kind of everything goes through your mind at once. The countless hours in the summers that I'm in the gym, it was all worth it.
If you enjoyed this video, I would highly recommend checking out this one next about another all-time great in Shaquille O'Neal, who quickly established himself as the scariest player in the league. I'll see y'all over there.